Well, hello friends, pro-life leader Frank Pavone here, Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to my daily diary segment. Today I want to talk to you about what I did from Friday, August 1st through Tuesday, August 5th of 2025. These were days of travel. So I started here at the office early in the morning on Friday, doing some basic desk work, dealing with topics on my email and paperwork regarding the new thank yous for the month. Every month we change the text of our thank you letters for those who donate. A broadcast meeting, details for the broadcasts of the following week. We always finalize the schedule each Friday. The 115 forum meeting of pro-life leaders we are planning for the next one. Setting up of interviews and approval of emails going out to our Priests for Life list. Early then that morning, about 6:45, one of my staff people picked me up and we headed to the Orlando airport. There in the car, I was able to talk with him in detail about his work. He is here at the main office. We were able to have like a work session there in the car on our way to the airport. Got there, checked in for my flight, did some more phone calls and emails before getting on the plane, and then once on the plane with a flight to Houston. So that gave me a good chance to do some work on the computer and reading and preparation of talks and things like that. Landed in Houston after a couple of hours, and was picked up by a priest that used to work on our pastoral team, Father David Begany, and in fact he's still associated with our team. You'll see him on these broadcasts as well, and he's a pastor out there now in Texas. So he picked me up, we had lunch together, caught up on a lot of things, and then from lunch we drove over to the mega clinic in Houston, Planned Parenthood, largest abortion facility in the country, which has announced that it is closing. So that was sort of a prayer of thanks and prayer of victory there in Houston. I should say that in the midst of all this, getting there, I also had a phone call with some of our data people. I think that was when I was waiting to board the plane, and a couple of other phone calls with administration and staff. Now, after praying at the soon-to-be-closed mega abortion facility, Father drove me to the nearby hotel where I had a reservation to check in, and at which hotel the 40 Days for Life Symposium was being held and was getting underway. People were starting to gather from around the country who are site leaders for the different 40 Days sites. And this was a weekend symposium at which I was one of the keynote speakers. So I checked into the hotel. Once I got into my room, I did a little bit more work, was in touch with my office, but then I wanted to go down and start networking with the people who were arriving to check in for the symposium. But I did have a lot of work, though, to do in the hotel room, and a number of phone calls there, too, and had a phone call with the gentleman who produced that documentary about the one-year anniversary of Butler, Vincent, our friend from Pennsylvania, whom I helped a little bit with the documentary, and I think you saw it on the broadcasts if you watch us regularly. Then I began networking with all the 40 Days for Life leaders as they arrived, and we had the evening banquet, which was very, very nice. We had a reception first, met with a couple of the priests who were there from Houston, including the chaplain for 40 days. And we had a great reception, and then the dinner, and then I was the dinner speaker. So Sean Carney gave his talk as the director of 40 Days, and then I gave my keynote speech that night about all our pro-life victories that we should all be rejoicing in. So the gala concluded, and then I networked with the people that were there, of course, lots of conversations, lots of good fellowship, and then the fellowship continued over at the rectory, which was just a couple of blocks down the street. So I walked over to the church where Father Paul, who is the 40 Days chaplain, invited a few of us there for evening snacks and conversation. So that was very, very good. Then we went to bed in the hotel, and then Saturday morning, the 2nd of August, things began right away, early. First of all, I always like to do some early work on my computer. We had some follow-up on the broadcast schedule and some work I was doing on disseminating our video of Catholic bishops endorsing priests for life. And then the breakfast was served for the symposium attendees right there in the room where we were having our meetings, and the meetings of the day got underway. Various workshops, presentations, informative conversations, and panels about improving and always making ever more effective the work of 40 days. As the day went on, of course, listening to these presentations and interacting with the different participants and having a lot of side meetings and planning for future trips that I could make to their area, all of that was happening. A lot of them had questions for me about different things or follow-ups from my talk from the previous night. And then at a certain point, they brought me into the room where they were doing some recording, and I recorded an interview for their 40 Days for Life videos. And that was very good. And then we continued with more workshops in the afternoon. And I did have 1 or 2 phone calls to make. I stepped aside to do that with my staff. And then again in the evening, we had a special dinner, a lot of good networking, and enjoyed the time with all the participants, and then went to bed after that. Now, Sunday the 3rd was technically conclusion of the conference with worship. But what I did is I walked down the block to the same church that I referred to already and attended early Mass, and then had a meeting with the previous pastor whom I've known. This is Annunciation Church in Houston, very well known for its pro-life commitment, and Monsignor James Golosinski, whom I've known since I started with Priests for Life over 30 years ago. He was there, met up with him in the sacristy after Mass. We had a nice update conversation after that. Then I walked back to the hotel. And then I had a period where I was able to do some work before we were going to leave as a group. And so I did do various work there on my laptop. I had an extended meeting with our executive director via telephone, because she was also catching up on some things at her desk. So we had that meeting. I was going through a lot of planning items on the computer. I was going through some communication with our friends who run the Washington Times, talking about staff in regard to improvements we can take advantage of with our email system. The month of August, the website domains indicated to staff which ones we should or should not renew. And then plans actually for January for the March for Life and the Walk for Life, and that's some of what I discussed with our executive director. All of that went very well. Then just before noon, we gathered in the lobby of the hotel, that is the symposium participants, and boarded a bus to go for about a 2-hour drive to the 40 Days for Life headquarters in Bryan, Texas. It used to be the abortion mill at which Abby Johnson worked. I've prayed there before, and she saw me out there on the sidewalk. Eventually, of course, she left the abortion industry, and then eventually after that, the abortion mill closed, and it's the one that's featured in the film Unplanned. And so we were there. We were given a nice tour of the headquarters there, and had a nice lunch there all together. A lot of good networking. On the way there, by the way, we stopped at the Buc-ee's, which is something that you may be familiar with, a great chain of rest stop restaurants on the highways. And then on the way, by the way, during the bus ride, I was having some great conversation with several of the participants and talking about ways that we could help. And I was sitting with one of our regional coordinators for the Silent No More campaign. So we were doing a lot of planning for some future events, and really great conversation among all of us about how to be more effective in our pro-life work. Then we had the ride back. We were all kind of tired by then, and so we had a more quiet ride back to the hotel, at which point we arrived around dinner time, and I I went in, and I think by that point I was ready to go to bed early. Did do some more connecting with some folks and some quick emails that I had to take care of, and then went to bed. And then on Monday morning, the 4th of August, I left the hotel very early. Let's see, I had a Uber at about 5 a.m. Went to the airport there in Houston and boarded a plane for Boston. So again, the usual thing there at the terminal on the plane. I was able to do a lot of office work on the computer. And then landing in Boston, I was picked up by a young man who just graduated high school. He's going to Ave Maria University in Florida. But I had met him at the National Right to Life Convention, Josh Klein. He won the oratory contest. And we had planned a nice visit to where he lives in Providence, Rhode Island. So he drove me from Boston to Providence, not too long of a drive. We had a good chance to talk and catch up on things. And I also had a phone conversation on the way with some of my staff. But we got there, and I stayed with his grandparents. They have a nice guest room, and we interacted a little bit, and then I did a little bit of work, settled in, checked in with my staff, and then we went to a special dinner. We gathered some pro-life leaders. Oh no, first I should say, before we did all that, we went to the headquarters of the Rhode Island Right to Life. And Barth Bracey there, of course, I've known for many years, and he gave me a tour of that place, and we talked. We also went to a pregnancy center that is right near there as well. In fact, the Right to Life office serves also as a pregnancy center. And then we went to Mother of Life Pregnancy Center. I got a tour of that too. We got some nice photos and videos, and it was just an inspiring time, and I gave encouragement to all those doing that work. And then after those visits, we went to a dinner with some of these leaders and had some great evening conversation. And another priest joined us who had worked with us for some time as well, Father Giacomo Capoverde, a priest of Providence, and he was there, and we all had a great time together. On Monday, in the midst of all these travels and airport time and car time, I did take care of a couple of email matters. Red Rose Rescue, I approved a press release in strong support of that activity, as I've always been. Florida, August 14th broadcast, preparing for a live broadcast about our Florida March for the Preborn that's coming up. Some email blasts being approved. Chamber of Commerce conversations with staff in matters relating to our connection with the Chamber there in our headquarters in Titusville. Some communication in regard to Brian Birch, whom we know, of course, and is the new Vatican ambassador for the United States to the Vatican, that is. Travelogue preparation and approval of another press release. So those were some of the computer items. Great dinner, like I said, that night. Then I did a little interview with another young man who's in high school, friend of Josh, and also very active in pro-life. So raising up the youth, you'll see that as a continued emphasis of Priests for Life. Now, the next morning, Josh took me for a time of prayer with Barth, with Rhode Island Right to Life, and other activists at the nearby abortion mill. And they have a van there that is a pregnancy ultrasound and counseling van. Saw that. We did some videotaping. We said the rosary. We went around the block as we were saying it, therefore essentially going right around the abortion facility. And on the other side of the property and across the street is the cathedral of the diocese. So after we had that prayer vigil, then we went over to the diocese and we saw the cathedral, and we visited with some of the officials of the Catholic Diocese of Providence, Respect Life Office and Social Justice, and great conversations there, was warmly welcomed. And then I had to get back to the airport. So Josh took me to, well, first we went for breakfast, and then I met up with a couple of other leaders there at a breakfast at his grandparents' house. And then by late morning, we headed to the airport. Now, on the way to the airport, I had a regularly scheduled meeting with our vice chairman and our executive director, and in the course of that phone call, I brought this young man, Josh, who was driving me, into the conversation, and we were able to talk about some of the good connections we made and the youth activity we want to do with Priests for Life. Then what happened was that I got on my plane and I flew to LaGuardia Airport, New York City. Now, in the midst of that, of course, I always do work on my laptop, and some of the emails I had to deal with had to do with, let's see, interview requests that are coming in, a baby that was saved through the counseling efforts of Janet, our executive director. She's had many successes like that over the years. Approval of a parish fax, preparation for the August 14th broadcast about the Florida State March that we're helping organize, the Red Road Rescue, more communications about that, and approval of a press release. Landed at LaGuardia Airport, picked up a rental car, drove up to where my parents are now. On the way there, I had, actually I was in the, you take these vans from the terminal to the rental car area, and during that little drive, I had a very good conversation with the CEO and head of Give, Send, Go, and that is a good alternative to GoFundMe. And we're going to set up an account with them. But I had a good phone conversation with him there, and then hopped in the car and drove up to Port Chester. So it was about, altogether, I guess, about a 50 to 1 hour drive. And had a phone conversation there with our executive director and finance director about a number of things we had to plan. So used that time for those phone calls, and then was able to stop in to see my mom at the assisted living facility, and my brother who's there and takes care of seeing her each day. And so we had a good dinner there, actually, and update conversation, and then I went home and I did some quiet evening work there at the house where I grew up in Port Chester, New York, and then went to bed. So that's what I did from the 1st to the 5th of August, 2025. Hope that your work is going well, that the Lord is blessing you, and together, let's continue striving for an end to abortion. Thanks for watching.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alveda King, board member of Priests for Life. More money is being spent in America to kill babies in the womb than to save them. Together, we need to change that, and today I want to invite you to support our work at Priests for Life. Why ours rather than other groups? Because we have a unique team that helps lead in every arena of the fight against abortion, and we activate the churches where you find people who are most likely to get involved in that fight. To awaken a pastor about abortion is to awaken thousands of people he serves. We do not receive church funding or government grants. We rely on you for individual donations. We have a very high evaluation among charities and top security on our donation site, prolifegift.org. You can go there for a one-time gift or to become a monthly donor, or you can call us at 321-500-1000.
Follow him, Frank Pavone, Fr. Frank Pavone. He is the National Director of Priests for Life. Please go to priestsforlife.org.
Frank Pavone. Frank, thank you very much.